Senate will come to order. Senators will be in their seats, and the clerk will call the roll.
Alley, Baumgardner, Berger, Billinger, Boyer, Bowers, Braun, Denning, Dahl, Estes, Fauskido, Francisco, Givens, Goddard, Haley, Hardy, Hawk, Hensley, Hildebrand, Holland, Kirshen, Longbine, Lynn, Masterson, McGinn, Miller, Olson, Peterson, Petty, Pilcher-Cook, Pyle, Rucker, Skubal, Sulentrop, Sykes, Taylor, Tyson, Wagle, Ware, Wilborn.
We have a guest chaplain with us this afternoon. Reverend Dr. Ed Ferris is with the Heartland Hospice Care in Topeka, and he's guest of the Majority Leader from Johnson County, Senator Denning. Senators and their guests, please rise and give prayerful attention to our guest chaplain.
Let us pray. We come before you, Father God, and give you thanks for life and the blessing of living. As we look throughout our state of Kansas, seeing the needs and the hurts of many people in many different areas, let us follow the words and the advice of the prophet Jeremiah. Let not the wise man boast of his wisdom, nor the strong man boast of his strength, nor the rich man boast of his riches. But let him who boasts boast about this, that he understands and knows that I am the Lord, who exercises kindness, justice, and righteousness on earth. For in these I delight, declares the Lord. There are many extremely important issues coming before this decision-making body that have to be dealt with, and may your wisdom and guidance direct our path. We depend on your guidance in all of our decision-making as we echo the words of Amos the prophet. Let justice roll on like a river, and righteousness like a never-failing stream. In the name of your Son, Jesus, amen.
Standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For a point of personal privilege, the chair recognizes the senator from Sedgwick County, Senator Fauskido.
Thank you, Madam President. It is my honor today, my other Senate colleagues and those in the gallery, if you would draw your attention to our VIP section here in the Kansas Senate. We have a very, very special guest with us here today. We have Miss Teen USA with us today. And I'd like to share a bit about her and her family. Haley Coburn was born in Wichita, Kansas, to the parents of Kevin and Denise, and trained in classical ballet for 14 years. While a student, she started a mentorship program, Self-Post-C, which she uses to travel to middle schools to talk to girls about the importance of self-love. She graduated from Wichita Northeast High School in 2018, where she was, listen to this, senators, where she was the valedictorian, a Governor Scholar, a KU Alumni Association Scholar, a Kansas Honor Scholar, and a recipient of both the Brian Burkamp Service Award, the Principal Leadership Award. And not only is Haley beautiful and representing us from Kansas as Miss Teen USA, here is what her mother, Denise Cassandra, wants me to share, is that she not only was accepted to Yale University, but she was one of 799 students in the world to be granted early admission, and this is, I'm so proud of you, to Princeton University, where she is currently a student, Madam President, and she's from Wichita, Kansas, where we reside. And it is now my pleasure to share in this personal point of privilege to yield, Madam President, to Senator Julia Lynn, Madam President, from Johnson.
Thank you so much, Aletha, and thank you to Haley and her family, all glorious in the gallery, smiles on your faces. And I always love to speak with the young women who are crowned, as this body knows. And Haley told me that, I said, well, what's one of the most, the things that kind of you had to give up during your time? And she said, well, I had to miss my high school graduation. And I said, oh, golly, but what a great gift this is. So what a great graduation gift. And I do have her whole resume on how she climbed to the crown. Actually, she probably pirouetted to the crown, right? So, and I didn't tell Haley that I've been a judge for the Miss Kansas pageant. And so I have a little bit of background in it. And I'm just so impressed that you're at Princeton. And here's the other thing. I asked her, well, what are you studying? And she said, well, I'm really interested in politics and literature. I said, literature? Really? Now, that's kind of uncommon for women in the, I suppose, young women, post-millennial. So she said, well, when I was little, when I was 3, I asked my mom to teach me to read, and she did. So I think that's something that makes you very special, and it will carry you forward in your career, whatever you decide to do. So congratulations, it's so fun to have you in the gallery. And welcome to the Kansas Senate. I yield back to the senator from Wichita, Senator Fauskido.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to the senator from Johnson for sharing. I will introduce those in our VIP section at this point. If Kevin Dean, Senior Vice President and CEO of High Touch Technologies, and he is also Haley's dad. If you would stand, please. And then we have with us her mom. I call her Denise, but she is Cassandra Wise Colburn, and she is the owner of Colburn Dance and Fitness Center, Haley's mom, if you'd stand. And then we have Matthew T. Colburn, founder of Colburn Media, and he's also Haley's brother. If you would stand and be recognized in the Kansas Senate. We also have with us John Vanetta, Junior President and co-executive director of Van Bros and Associates. If you would please stand. And we also have his Jason, or did I already say that? Jennifer. Well, Jason is here. You're Jason. Stand, would you please? Jason Vanetta, and I'm sure I'm botching that last name, but co-executive director of Van Bros and Associate. If you would stand, please. And then we also have Jennifer, if you would stand and let them look at you a little longer. You're co-executive director. And we also have from, and this center's in my district, McAdams Recreational Center. We have Inez Riff here with us, and she is Haley's aunt. If you would stand. And we have Marcy Bell with us. She is the project manager for Gulfstream Aerospace, and she is also Haley's aunt. So she's got a very wonderful entourage with her today. And if Miss Teen USA, who is from Kansas, would please stand and give us your little wave, we would appreciate it. And if the Kansas Senate would give Miss Teen USA a round of applause. And thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Haley, for being present with us today so we could honor you. We're going to stand at ease for a moment. We have another group coming into the VIP section. The Senate will come to order. On a point of personal privilege, the chair recognizes the senator from Ford County, Senator Estes.
Thank you, thank you, Madam President. Today,
If we could have your attention, please. We're on a point of personal privilege. Thank you, Senator.
thank you, ma'am. Today, we recognize Kidney and Organ Awareness Day. We would like to recognize the following organizations: Kansas Kidney Coalition, Save a Life Incorporated, National Kidney Foundation of Kansas, Western Missouri, and Oklahoma, the University of Kansas Health System Center for Transplantation. If you are a living donor or a recipient, especially in the upper galleries, please stand so we can recognize you. Do we have any upstairs? Okay, looks like I got them all pretty much down here. And so I would like to recognize each one of those sort of individually. Terry, you can kind of wave if I call you. Terry Roberts, Debs Simmons, Michael Kelly, Keita Kelly, Priscilla McFeeters, Sarah Hemphill, Steve Hemphill, and Rob Robinson. And last but not least, my daughter-in-law, Michelle Estes, who a year ago, about now, gave me one of her kidneys. So we would like to welcome you all here today. We know you've made great sacrifices, and we thank you so very much. So if you could be recognized. Thank you, Madam President.
I'd like to thank our special gifts for their generosity and for giving others the gift of life and hope and time. Please note reference of bills on page 1 of the calendar. Messages from the governor, the clerk will read.
Enclosed herewith is Executive Directive Number 19-500 for your information. Sincerely, Laura Kelly, Governor.
Messages from the House, the clerk will read.
Announcing passage of House Bill 2188. House Bill 2188, an act concerning the dissolution of taxing entities.
This constitutes introduction of those bills previously read. Correction approval of the journal. It is our intention to recess. Before we recess, are there announcements? Seeing none, Senator from Sedgwick, Senator Solentrop.
Thank you, Madam President. Public Health and Welfare will be hearing Senate Bill 232 tomorrow, and we will be working it. We will also work 2185 and possibly a couple others. So hearing tomorrow, Senate Bill 232, we will be hearing and working along with 2185 and potentially a couple more. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the Majority Leader from Johnson County, Senator Denning.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to remind the body that Senate Republicans, upon recess, will be caucusing on the bills 125 and 135 in our normal room, 548 South, immediately upon recess.
Senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Madam President. The Senate Democrats will also be caucusing on Senate Bills 125 and 135 in our normal room 287 North upon recess.
Majority Leader Denning.
Madam President, I move the Senate recess to the sound of the gavel.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The Senate is at recess.
The Senate will come to order. The chair recognizes the Majority Leader from Johnson County, Senator Denning.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of bills on the calendar under the heading of General Orders.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. The chair appoints the senator from Sherman, Senator Billinger, to preside over the Committee of the Whole.
Good afternoon. The Senate, having resolved itself into the Committee of the Whole, will now consider those items listed on the calendar under the heading of General Orders. We will now turn our attention to Senate Bill 125. The chair recognizes a senator from Cali, Senator Alley, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 125 would extend the Rural Opportunity Zone program by 5 years. The student loan program, which would be extended until July 1st of 2026, and the individual income tax credit program would be extended through tax year 2026. An additional requirement would be for the Department of Commerce to provide an annual report on the program for the additional 5 years. There was no opponent and no neutral testimony at the hearing. The fiscal note prepared by the Division of Budget was $2.6 million in fiscal year 2022 and $3 million in 2023. The Department of Revenue indicates that it would require $52,750 from the SGF to implement the bill and modify the automated tax program. The tax expenditure for 2016 for this program was $1.3 million, and there was 494 filers. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Are there questions for the senator from Cali? Senator Holland? Senator from Douglas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If the carrier of the bill would stand for a question.
He will.
Mr. Chairman, if the carrier of the bill could talk about what type of formal review, if anything, has been done concerning the ROS program in the past couple of years as far as its efficiency and what it's doing for Kansas taxpayers.
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As we said earlier, the Department of Commerce gives the Commerce Committee a yearly report out on the participation. In 2019, there have been 541 applications with 934 awaiting sponsorships.
Senator from Douglas, Senator Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the senator from Cali's response to that. If the senator from Cali could review the current sunset expiration dates in the bill that we're discussing, if you could review that with the committee of the whole, please.
Senator Alley.
Just a moment, let me find those. The present bill, as it is today, is January 1st of 2021, and so that would be when the bill would be done.
Senator from Douglas, Senator Holland.
Mr. Chairman, I thank the senator from Cali for his response to that. And a final question for the senator. Was it talked about in committee why we needed to extend the sunsets, the current sunsets as outlined in Senate Bill 125 now, since it appears we have at least a year, if not longer, to make that change, should we desire to do so?
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley.
The extension doing it now, I think there are some other counties, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but there are other counties wanting to be included on this. But right now, the extended 2026 would be what this bill would do, and that's the reason they wanted to do that now.
Senator from Douglas, Senator Holland.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just to clarify the senator from Cali's response, technically, we could go ahead and add the other counties to under Senate Bill 135 as we brought before the body today, and they would be able to enjoy that program without any sort of extension of the current sunset, at least for, I would guess, at least a year plus. Would that not be correct?
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley.
They would enjoy their program through January 1st, 2021.
Senator from Douglas, Senator Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the senator from Cali's responses. I'm just kind of walking us through this. I just want to share with the body, I am ranking on the tax committee. I just want to make a couple observations about this. Number one, tax policy is near and dear to all of us. And, we want to be sure that if there's things that we think benefit our communities, we definitely want to endorse and support that. And I am particularly sensitive and want to support my fellow senators, particularly those that have counties that have been added on to the program with the accompanying Senate Bill 135. And I know it's kind of weird to be talking about two bills, and I apologize for this, but unfortunately for the body, these two really are kind of knotted up. And so I want to make my few comments about both bills now. I will be voting against Senate Bill 125, but supporting Senate Bill 135 for the following reasons. Number one, as we were having our own caucus discussion about this, I reflect back on the ROS program that came in under Governor Brownback, I believe back in 2011. I remember, I can't remember if Secretary Joy at that time was head of revenue or not, but I do remember that if you go back to the original ROS program and you look at those counties that were in there, there were originally 50 counties, and they were primarily specifically in the western part of Kansas. And I believe at the time the Brownback administration had some specific, I forget if it was depopulation criteria or total numbers, I forget what it was, but there really was a quantifiable rationale as far as the counties that were initially put into the program. And so there was a basis for getting that set up. I'm voting no on 125, and we'll be supporting 135 for the following reasons. Number one, and maybe it's just because I've got program evaluation on the brain. Mr. Chairman, we've been doing a Senate Bill HB 2006. I think we've got a good product that really focuses on evaluating our EcoDevo programs. And I view this as yet another EcoDevo program that we want to be sure is working. My concern specifically about this program is that we have added counties to this over time. And while there may have been people that may have, I guess, may have had some initial misgivings about the program, I did not at the time. To me, it seemed like it was focused enough. We saw those original 50 counties as being basically counties that are primarily driven by industrial agriculture. And obviously they have a lot in common, but I mean, to me, the program made sense at that time why we wanted to do that. As we basically, though, fast forward through the years, we've added on counties really in the rest of Kansas, and we look at their economies, while they may be economically depressed, like a lot of Kansas is from a geographic standpoint, the mix of their economies and what drives them has basically diverted more and more from that original basket of ag counties that were put into this. So my concern with this program as it goes forward is that if you think about really what this ROSE program does, it's really two things. It's basically you've got this tuition incentive, and then you've got this income tax incentive. As we expand the number of counties across this state, my fear with this program is that we are just further diluting the effects of the ROSE program. I really think the original intent was to try to drive population growth to western Kansas in these industrial ag counties. And I think it's a very laudable, purpose. But I can tell you, Mr. Chairman, when I occasionally go for my annual hog ride through western Kansas and Colorado, and I drive through those western Kansas counties, I'll be lucky if I see a gas station every 50 miles along a major Kansas highway. That's a specific set of economic problems those counties suffer, and we're trying to help them out with that. But as you look basically the rest of the counties that are coming onto this program, they look vastly different. And my fear is that we're basically continuing a program, and please understand, I have rural portions in my district, okay? Franklin County, which isn't part of my, is actually immediately south of me, they probably need to enjoy this program as well too. But I wonder if we, in fact, because we're throwing more and more programs into the ROS program, if we're just further diluting the effects that we could have with it. So now instead of basically trying to encourage that all good tax incentive dues to try to get people to go out to western Kansas, now we're actually reducing that. And I think if you look at basically the recent population statistics, we continue to lose population in western Kansas, make no mistake about it. I'm not sure to what extent this program has actually stymied that effect. And so my point in speaking, and I appreciate the body's patience, thank you. But my point in taking position is that, number one, I want my fellow senators to recognize that for those of you who have lobbied for and you want your counties on this 135, I will support you. Because I think probably a long time ago, we started putting counties on there, at least that deviated from the original makeup of those original counties, and probably started to deviate from the original intent of the bill. So I want to assure those senators I will fully support your request for your extension for your counties. As if I was in a situation asking for your support, I hope you would honor my request as well. But I will be voting no on 125 because I really think that, particularly with the new Commerce Secretary coming in, I think we've got a great opportunity to do a more formal evaluation of this program. And so obviously I'm going to leave this, it's the will of the body what they want to do, but that's my 2 cents on this program, and I appreciate the body's patience with me. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley, you wish to respond?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank the Senator from Douglas for his remarks on that, and I do want to respond to the setting up the new programs. If we only allow 2 years, and we're talking about 2021, January 1, 2021, and this program sunsets, the new counties that are coming in, and we're going to speak about 135, and my indulgence a little bit for speaking about 135 before 125, but if we have these counties have to set up the regulations and all the tax software that has to be in to administer this program, and not knowing whether or not the program is going to be extended, they probably won't want to participate in that for a 1.5-year program. So I do believe that now would be the time to extend it for 125, extend it for 6 years, give our Commerce Secretary that is incoming the tools in his tool banks to take care of the western Kansas counties, take care of these counties to make sure that they have an obligation that that they can bring these people in, and that we have the financial incentives given to them to do that. Now, as far as diluting the western Kansas, and I know I've heard that before, that if we add more counties, and I think I'll wait on that one until 135 is talked about. But I want to read you one thing, and this was in the Oberlin Herald and also in the Lawrence Journal this week. It said the program, we're talking about the Rural Opportunity Zone, has been popular with many new settlers that have taken advantage of both the tax forgiveness and the student loan payments. But oddly enough, the program often is not what drew them to our counties. The county officials say most of these young people say they heard about the Opportunity Program only after they moved back to an eligible county. What that means is the program is working, but it could do a lot more. It's obviously hasn't been promoted enough by the state, by the counties involved, and by our economic development agencies. Everyone thinking about moving to rural Kansas should be told about this program before it's too late, because among all the efforts made to attract people and keep people here, this is the one that makes sense. Infrastructure, roads, water, sewer lines, hard stuff like that is nice. It's vital to any community economic life, but it's not very sexy. Few people will be attracted to our town because it got good water lines. Good schools, yes, they're important. Housing is vital, and we need more. And the downtown renewal is nice, but it's been done again and again and again. It's good to have a spiffy downtown, but beautification won't do too much for us if there's no stores and offices to fill the buildings. Good streets and water lines are important, but no one has ever chosen a town based on those. Pay people's student loans and forgive their taxes for a while. People like that kind of thing. It's direct and it's tangible. And that was from the Oberlin Herald last week, and that was in the good senator from Goodland's district. But the thing that we have to take in mind here is people are coming to this program. It is being used. It hasn't been promoted the way it should be. That's where we need the new Secretary of Commerce to come in, promote these programs, bring the people to Kansas. But they are coming, people are coming to Kansas from Colorado. We had 170, from Nebraska 171, Oklahoma 102, Texas 103, California 52, Illinois 33, Indiana 25, and Virginia 24. So they're coming in, as you can see them, they're coming from different states. I did not find a number from Missouri, so I really can't quote that. But those are from outside states, and it is being used also from in-state, from counties that do not participate in the RAWs, and they may be moving back home. So with that, I'll stand for questions.
Senator from Cherokee, Senator Hildebrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise in support of this bill. Just a little bit of information. Being here, I'm not the youngest senator here, but I've only been here for 2.5 years. But one thing I have learned in that 2.5 years is nothing comes easy. We have a bicameral legislative process, and then to get a bill from here to the governor's desk is very complicated, and it's hard. 2021 is only a year and 8 months away. Now is the time to extend this sunset if we want to do it. We cannot be a body that continuously just waits until the last minute and hope for the best. This is a good program. Kansas, as everyone knows, is losing population. We're the 5th largest in the nation of people leaving Kansas for another state. The 5th in the nation of the most people leaving Kansas for another state. We have got to do things differently in the state of Kansas, and taking away one of our tools in our toolbox is not going to fix that. We need all the tools that we can. I live in southeast Kansas. I represent southeast Kansas. We have Oklahoma and we have Missouri as our border states. When you go into a manufacturing company in my district, a large company, over half of those employees will not be from that community. They are commuting into that community. A big percentage of that is coming from Missouri and Oklahoma. Why are they staying in Missouri, living in Missouri and Oklahoma and working in Kansas? We have the jobs. We just don't have the people staying in Kansas or moving to Kansas. It's because our tax structure is out of whack. We have to have something to entice these individuals to move to Kansas instead of Missouri and Oklahoma. And the RAWS bill does that. And if we can effectively market this and start marketing it effectively, like I am hoping our new Commerce Secretary will do, we can start dropping from number 5 and at least get out of the top 10, hopefully, within a few years. Now is the time to extend the sunset, not wait until the last moment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley, do you want to reply? Or?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I'd just like to say to the good senator from Cherokee, thank you very much for his support of this program.
Senator from Lynn, Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise in support of this legislation, and I thank the senator from Cherokee for having the innovative thoughtfulness of bringing this to us before next year. We don't need to wait until it's already expired or about to expire. This program is used to entice individuals to Kansas or to rural areas within our state. Let's extend it 5 more years. It has been working. It doesn't work as great as some of us would like to see it, but it is working. People are moving to Kansas and to the rural areas. I stand in support and thank you for their efforts.
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley, do you wish to respond? Okay. Senator from Johnson, Senator Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I urge the body to support this. In my lifetime, we've had 6 U.S. congressmen. We're down to 4, soon probably be 3. We're not keeping up with the rest of the country on our growth in our state. When you look through across Kansas and see all these rural communities that once were the big buildings, the small factories, the homes, a lot of them have disappeared over time in my lifetime. It's saddening to me. We have not focused on rural economic development for a long time in this state. We need to come together as a body and start focusing on rural economic development. It brings property taxes down, brings more money for the local schools, more money to the state. We can compete with the rest of the country instead of allowing our kids to move on to other states. We can create opportunities here and for their kids. Kansas has a lot to offer, but we haven't focused on rural Kansas in a long time. I think this is scratching to dirt to what we need to be doing. We had a proposal in Commerce dealing with building some housing in rural communities, some ways to do that. We're going to have to get creative because we need the housing. For a long time, we've been declining in our rural counties. And with that decline, eventually houses get knocked down, new ones don't get built. Towns get smaller. I watch places like Fort Scott. Once was that county 100 years earlier was twice the size it is today. I watched that community, die 3, 4, 5% every year in the last 50 years, except around the 1980s. For some reason, it was able to grow a couple percent, but it's been in decline since. We need to do a better job of creating incentives that's going to grow our economy across this state, not just in places like Johnson County. Because when we do that, we're growing up there at a rapid pace. Well, they're declining. Every year they decline in them rural areas. That's a tax increase on them people if they stay. At the best, if government doesn't, or if these communities don't lose any population, they're breaking even, they're still going to have to increase their tax base. So when they decline, you're increasing it that much more on them. That's why when someone buys a new truck in Fort Scott and goes to pay the property tax, much higher than what they're going to pay in Johnson County. All across the state, we've seen these counties. Some of these counties in western Kansas have lost so much, but then there's some hope. Places like Scott City, they've grown, they've taken it upon themselves to grow. They've got a new hospital, good broadband, local community center. They've grown, they've brought in some, they've got some developers starting to build. They built, I think in the last 10 years, about 300 new people have moved there. They built some new housing. Housing's important. There's places like Tribune, you know, they're a small town the way it is, but they've grown about 20, 25 people over the last 10 years. That's important. They're not declining. We need more programs like this to encourage that growth, to help them reduce their property tax, allow them to have more money to fund their community, their schools, and expand. So I hope this is just the start, not the end of these programs in the rural areas across the state. So I urge the body to support this. Thank you.
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley, you wish to respond? The Senator from Johnson, Senator Boley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted a little clarification from the carrier of the bill. And this question was asked earlier by the senator from Douglas about why now, and some have answered it. I heard him answer, and I'm just clarifying, that it was because of the new ones coming in and they wouldn't have enough time. Am I incorrect in that this would end in 2022? Or am I incorrect?
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley.
This program, if it is allowed to sunset, will sunset January 1st, 2021.
Thank you. My other comment is to respond to all the senators that have stood in support of our rural communities, particularly helping their economics. We continue as a body to block hearing Medicaid expansion. And that is the best way that I know that we can help our rural areas at this time. One, we get a 1-to-9 match with federal dollars. We know from many other states that this brings jobs to all these small rural areas because now they have money to pay the people. And so I find it very interesting that people are willing to take more state general funds that has one effect where we could expand Medicaid and have not only economic expansion, but we could actually care for our people in this state. Thank you.
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley, you wish to respond? Senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have some questions for the senator from Cali, if he would respond.
He will.
So this bill does two things in extending the program and in also extending the report. What have we learned from that report as it's been given to the legislature during the years of this program?
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've been privileged to hear two reports on this, but what I have learned from this was that the program is underused. The program hasn't been promoted as it should be, and that it isn't being the utilization is definitely not where it needs to be. You can see that by they're not using the total funds they've been allocated.
Senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we get information on how many individuals are using the program, and that is specifically what we're requesting in this bill. Do we get a report on whether these counties are gaining or losing population after participation in this plan?
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley.
With the new Commerce Secretary, I hope we get that information. Thank you.
Senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I understand that the new Commerce Secretary wants to work along with our Lieutenant Governor on a program to revitalize our rural areas. But I would like to give them a chance to report on what they know, report on the listening tour, and find out if this is the program that fits in. I understand that one of the comments that was made was that individuals may be working in Kansas but living in Missouri or Oklahoma. If that's the case, would they be eligible for these tax credits?
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are you saying that they're living in out of state but working in Kansas? Would they be eligible for this? My understanding is no.
Senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's my understanding as well, because this program is limited to individuals who had Kansas source income of less than $10,000. So it would not be helping that area in Cherokee County if they're concerned about individuals. We may want to be looking at a different program, either for housing or other issues in our tax code that would address those individuals. I think that we have some data about this program, but it has not yet been analyzed. And I think that we do have the time to wait and just hear about that. And then if this fits in with the approach that we want to take for rural revitalization, we should extend it. But I hate to take this action right before we hear that information and right as that new program is being developed. Thank you.
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley, do you wish to respond?
I will, Mr. Chairman. You know, 18 months is a short period of time. If we do not take action on this bill today, we're in 2020 before we'll hear this bill again. At that time, we're less than 12 months when it sunsets. It may or may not get heard again. It may or may not get another year. But that's not the reason that it's pressing. What's pressing is that this program is different than the regular programs which we have incentives like HPIP, PEAK, STAR bonds, because those benefits go to the corporations. This program, the benefits go to the employees. So with that, I would like to yield to the Senator from Cherokee.
Senator from Cherokee, Senator Hilbrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize. I wasn't very articulate, I guess, in explaining how it will benefit Southeast Kansas. When we're number 5 for people moving, more people moving out than moving in, it's not static. People here that live in Kansas, people that live in Missouri, people that live in Oklahoma, that's not a static number. It changes. The workforce is not a static number. You have turnover. You have people moving into the area, you have people moving out of the area. But when Kansas, Southeast Kansas, when people, I'll give you a good example, Shape Technologies in Baxter Springs, Kansas just had a huge expansion. moved their facilities from state of Washington into Baxter Springs, hired another 150 employees. I know for a lot of larger communities, 150 employees does not sound very promising, but for Baxter Springs, Kansas, where someone is making $20 an hour, that is huge. I had the opportunity to visit that facility at their grand opening, and I talked to a lot of the new employees. Over half of the new employees that got hired for that job lived in Oklahoma, they live in Missouri, never worked in Kansas before, but had an opportunity to better themselves and take a job in Kansas, and they have no plans of moving to Baxter Springs, Galena, Riverton, Columbus, or Pittsburgh, because what it would cost them for their property tax and to tag their vehicles is 3 times higher in Kansas than it is in Oklahoma or Missouri. That is how this affects Southeast Kansas. That is how this affects all of Kansas. And if we want to take away another tool that we have in our toolbox just to wait on some report that may or may not come, to me is crazy. We have an opportunity to extend this. Rural communities want it. Let's do it. Thank you.
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley, you wish to respond? Or okay. Senator from Lynn, Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to respond to a couple of comments. The fiscal note on this currently is less than $2 million for the state. Less than $2 million for a majority of counties in the state. If we take just one program, the Star Bonds program, there's $53 million collected each year that go to pay off the state Star Bonds. If we take the PEAK program, I have a list by county of each county. Atchison County is $48,000. Bourbon County, $175,000. The list goes on for a total of $43 million. I have a theory. When I used to work at NASA, we would be working on complex system, real-time telemetry stream processing databases. Those meetings would go fairly quickly. We have a multi-billion-dollar budget. That goes fairly quickly across the floor. We have something less than $2 million, and it's like we're sitting there and debating what color of font we want on the screen. I mean, I don't mean to belittle this, but it's less than $2 million, and it does help our rural communities. So I please ask the body to consider this and stand with us in supporting this bill.
Are there further questions for the senator from Cali, Senator Alley? Senator from Johnson, Senator Lynn.
Thank you. I won't belabor. I just wanted to quickly indicate that this debate reminds me of the fact that we need to have an economic development incentive evaluation process in place so that debates like these, not that they wouldn't happen, but that we would have a sense of and know the data, as Senator from Douglas was speaking to. Because when you operate without data, without true primary source data, you're not going to be able to make the best decision. So when House Bill 2006 comes to this floor, hopefully we'll be able to have a lively debate about the importance of having information before we make decisions going forward. And I think that'll put our state in a much more secure place. So I just wanted to make that observation, and hopefully when we have debates like these, they will be based on fact and and not something that we wish in our minds. So with that, I will close.
Senator from Cali, you wish to respond? Are there any further questions for the senator from Cali? Seeing none, you can close, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Rural Opportunity Zone program was designed for rural Kansas and rural Kansans. The average population of the 77 counties in the Rural Opportunity Zone is less than 30,000 population. The 77 counties presently in the ROZ or RAW zone request the extension of this valuable rural economic development program for another 5 years. I move when the committee rises and it reports Senate Bill 125 favorable for passage.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries. We now turn our attention to Senate Bill 135. The chair recognizes the senator from Cali, Senator Alley, to adopt the committee report.
I move we adopt the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 135 would expand the list of eligible counties for participation in the Rural Opportunity Zone program to include the following counties: Atchison, Cali, Crawford, Dickinson, Ford, Franklin, Miami, and Pottawatomie counties. During our hearing, Senator Hildebrand and Senator Wilburn and a representative from Crawford County testified in support of the bill. We had written proponents, and they were from the Kansas Association of Counties, the Kansas Hospital Association, the Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce, and Pittsburgh State. There were no neutral or opponent testimony. According to the Department of Revenue, enactment of the bill would reduce the fiscal year 2020 SGF by about $472,000, and it might require $63,000 for state's obligation of a student loan repayment portion. You know, reviewing the participants of the existing programs, we looked at the employers who were recruiting these students and these employees. And what we found was these are multiple employers from our last report. And they were more than 5 employers in each one of these categories: agribusiness, health, professional services, banking, government, as well as several other groups. And again, I referred to the testimony that I gave just a moment ago on the applicants and where they were from. They were from Colorado, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas, California, Illinois, Indiana, and Virginia, and all of those were within 170 down to 25 applicants. So as you see, there's a wide variation of businesses that are interested in this. So with that, I would stand for questions.
Are there questions for the senator from Cali? Senator from Wyandotte, Senator Haley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've listened to this discussion regarding the rural opportunity zones for many years. I was here at its inception. I remember the debate and the discussion, actually little debate, Mr. Chair, and I remember the initial counties when we started and how it was shared with our committee that we would indeed, as a state, be supportive of restoring population to certain parts of our state and the commitment that we all made. I want to say from the outset, Mr. Chair, that though I'm from a decidedly urban, probably the most urban of all counties here, most densely populated, Wyandotte County, that I was a big supporter of the rural opportunity zones when they were first introduced in concept to this legislature. My record is clear that the representations that were made to stymie the hemorrhaging of our population, children growing up, moving away, going to school, and not coming back to some of the most beautiful and significant parts of Kansas, those arguments weren't lost on me. And I've supported and continued to support the expansion to other counties. I remember former Governor Brownback wanting to increase, and in fact, we did increase. We went to an additional allotment, more counties that are now available for this benefit. And so, Mr. Chair, I guess the question on the previous bill has come up because I'm hoping that at some point the answer will come that what is it beyond hopefully a better census count next year, where are we realizing a benefit to the state as a whole? I just did it when I supported it before because I love our state. I do think that Kansas is beautiful, from Goodland to Fort Scott to, well, I won't name all the beautiful parts of our state that needed enhancement because we all have some nice, I've been pleased to run statewide now several times, and I really just want to do what I can to enhance and to support the growth and the stabilization of our rural counties. But where does this go and where does it end, and what are we getting back for our constant investment? Heretofore, every time a ROZ or ROSE, or however you want to pronounce the acronym of Rural Opportunity Zones, have been before us, you've enjoyed my support. Former Governor Brownback even spoke of doing urban opportunity zones, because I looked at the dynamics of what it would mean for a population shift in Wyandotte County, my county, an urban county, which has lost population over the last couple of decades as well. And I think former Governor Brownback addressed that, certainly during his re-election campaign, talking about adding urban opportunity zones to the mix, which I hope, if it ever does come to fruition, because for whatever reason, the governor who was running for re-election at the time, Governor Brownback, it didn't pass legislative muster, and it was only a concept that we've never realized. So I'm sharing today that I'm getting to be a little weary, Mr. Chair. During the last bill, the same concept, a senator from Douglas, Senator Holland, opined to ask the converse of where I stand. He's interested, perhaps, as he said, and he's here to, well, to defend it or not, that he would support this, but I note that one of his counties, or one of the counties he represents, may be a part of it. But what of us, those of us who don't have a county that has the ability to enjoy the benefits of being an opportunity zone? I wish I could bring an amendment today that just makes the whole state. There only be 20 of us left, 20 counties left of the 105, should this bill pass, and I'm sure you've already seen to that, Mr. Chair, that it will. Let's just make the whole state an opportunity zone. Let's incentivize those states that have, or that sees in our counties, a dwindling population to offset the student loan payment. Why don't we incentivize the income tax for all of the counties that would fit the criteria, instead of just continuing to add incrementally one here or there that has the political ability to add their name to the list? And I guess my question after this somewhat lengthy monologue would be to the senator from Cowley, the carrier of this bill. Is that such a possibility? And maybe if the senator would not want to respond, then perhaps the senator of the tax committee, I mean, if she would stand for that question, the chair of tax, that we just bring all of the state of Kansas into an opportunity zone, Mr. Chair, as envisioned incrementally by former Governor Brownback, at least by including urban opportunity zones. Would that be something that after we consider this bill, that maybe, or if somebody has an amendment today, that we might consider doing for the rest of us?
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank the good senator from Wyandotte for his question. That has been thought about. There has been an amendment drawn up, but I think that it's too quick. I think what we need to do is give the incoming Commerce Secretary time to evaluate the program, see how it could work in all the counties, and let's make Kansas an opportunity zone. I think that would be something that will challenge the new Commerce Secretary to do. We need to bring more people into Kansas, as you said. There was some would say that if we limit the size and the number of counties, that we'd limit the opportunities to these existing counties. And we don't want to bring in so many that we're going to limit the other counties that are in the program. But like I say, expanding the possibilities and opportunities under this program for these counties that we're bringing in today is good for Kansas, all of Kansas. And if you bring in any employees into Kansas, take the jobs that we have available, it's good for Kansas. But I do think that you bring up an interesting opportunity for next year, next session, and we will definitely look at it. If I'm on the tax committee, I would work with you on that one. But I think there's a good senator from Saline.
Senator from Wyandotte, Senator Haley.
Well, I certainly appreciate the consideration by the carrier of this bill, the good and gracious senator from Cowley. I only wish that I had requested the amendment today. I mean, we've just had a discussion about the sunset of this and the potential expansion of those that are in place. And I think part of that concern was that 18 months is a long time, but it's a short time. It'll be here before we know it. So I don't know if we need to put off until next year what we could do today. Mr. Chair, let me underscore, I have supported this measure every time from its inception. And I don't know, really, if there's ever been any benefit conferred to the district I represent. But the team spirit for Team Kansas, for all of us, I've been very supportive. I just wonder how long, before we all have some equity in what's a tremendous, or could be a tremendous program for our population stabilization and growth. The first one. And the second question that was raised again by a senator from Douglas, which I don't know the senator from Cali has refuted, is where do we reach the saturation point where there are too many places on which to decide? And those decisions then make the whole program pretty much render the whole or program neutered. So I appreciate again the pause for discussion. I don't have an amendment today that would add the remaining 20 counties, but if someone brings it today to this bill, you'll enjoy my support. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator from Cali, you wish to respond? Okay. Senator from Saline, Senator Hardy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When I was approached by the senator from Cherokee about this bill, I wholeheartedly offered Dickinson County as a potential expansion county for the ROS program, and I'm also proud to be a co-sponsor of this bill. This bill was designed for smaller, rural, especially western counties, but any county that falls into that category. And Dickinson County did not initially fall into that category, but I think it is a great candidate to be considered for the ROS program. There's one company in Abilene, it's called Land Pride, that is expanding, wanting to expand, and is planning to expand, but they need 200 new employees. And this program, if implemented, would be a great tool, a great resource to attract young workers to be a part of that company. And also, you know, the thought has been brought up that there are counties that don't try to market the program perhaps as well as they should. I have no doubt that Dickinson County, with the way that it markets other aspects of the county, would jump on this opportunity and make the most of it. I think it's a great tool for rural Kansas, and I wholeheartedly support it, and I'm looking forward to perhaps bringing it to Dickinson County. Thank you, sir.
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley, you wish to respond?
First, thank the senator from Saline for his comments on the program.
Senator from McPherson, Senator Wilburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too represent the southern half of Dickinson County and did testify in committee in support of this measure. Senator from Saline did an excellent job of explaining why. Dickinson County, of course, from a tourist point of view, is a destination area, attractive for people to move in there, particularly from the military area out of Fort Riley, and this only enhances their ability to grow that county. So I strong support of this measure. Thank you.
I think the senator from Douglas, Wyandotte, Senator Haley, I think he stood up first.
Well, just very briefly, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm going to yield to my colleague, who I think will have a much more articulate question. My question is, are each of these counties identified in this potential expansion, have they been identified as losing population, or has the population remained stable? If the senator from Cali would know.
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley.
I don't have the, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have the exact numbers for each county. I do know that some are gaining population, but most of them are stable and or losing population.
Senator from Wyandotte, Senator
And brief
Haley.
follow-up then, if it's not for population, then what would be the other driver to decide which counties are included and which are not, unless it's population loss?
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley.
Population loss was the original requirement for the program that was removed, and I believe that was in 2012.
Senator from Wyandotte, Senator Haley.
Which means now the consideration is job growth, or what is the criterion, Mr. Chair?
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley.
The criteria that I believe that the criteria is getting a request to put on the deal and get it here. But if you really want to know what the criteria is, it is rural opportunity zone. The original 50 counties expanded to 77 counties. They had a budget of, I think, $5 million for the total. They're not using it all. The applications, and some of them have to be co-sponsored by the county or by an employer in that district. So sometimes you don't get that, and that's the reason you see on the map some blue that have employer contributions. I'm not sure you have a map there with you, but there's blue that have the employer contributions. The orange have both employer and county contributions. So they've petitioned, they've asked, they've requested, and that's how they've got on the list.
Senator from Wyandotte, Senator Haley.
I don't have a map, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. I don't have anything else. So is rural defined in the bill? I'm sure it is. I'm just looking right quickly. But we have a definition for what rural county is, and that's in the bill. Correct, Mr. Chair?
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley.
I'm looking. Thank you. There's no definition of counties, of the county's population or rural in the bill. And the name of it is Rural Opportunity Zone when it was first designated.
Senator from Wyandotte, Senator Haley.
Well, yeah, I don't see it either here at all. There's no definition of what rural is. I don't know if it would have to be consistent with somewhere else to be previously defined, but I wish we had a little more, stable definition so that as we add, we just don't willy-nilly pick up those with political muscle who can get their county considered to get some sort of benefit of this order. No population loss is not a criterion, no definition. Rural is a magic word, but what is the magic word? What is that? Where is that defined? And I just, I would hope we could tighten down some kind of criterion for this and potentially future counties like Wyandotte and others to be a part of the benefit that's being conferred, Mr. Chair. It's just, it's not a very good way, I think, to expand the benefits that are being conveyed, but. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank the senator from Cali as well.
Senator from Cali, you wish to respond? Senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had some of the same questions about how, I believe it's 8 counties that are being added to this list, how those were chosen. Is it true it was just if a senator came and asked it to be added to the bill?
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley.
My understanding, you're correct.
Senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this goes back to trying to use data to address our concerns. And I would say one of the counties that I represent is Jefferson County, and it has a population of 18,998. So well below some of the other counties that are being included in this expansion of rural opportunity zones. And certainly with a more steady population than others that we see. I'm looking just online and see that for Miami County, their population increased, I think, by 50% from 1980 to 2015. So again, I'm concerned that we haven't developed a program that has identified the concern specifically, tried to target all the counties in our state that fit that, make sure what we're doing is working. Because I think that we want to do things deliberately. It may not be a huge amount of money, but it's a significant amount of money for many of our counties. And I think the obligation of the legislature is to make sure that we are effectively and fairly targeting this program.
Senator from Cali, you wish to respond?
I don't have a response for that portion, but I will say that those counties that have jobs open and have people come in or return back to their county That is what makes success in this program. We have 500 and I think it was around 500 applicants that applied for the program last year. We got more than double that on a waiting list for the program. We are trying to bring jobs back to Kansas, bring people back to take care of our 47,000 jobs that are open right in Kansas today. This is not a urban versus rural competition. There is no competition. It's good for Kansas. It's good to help our neighbors in western Kansas and the new counties. If they use the program, it's not a free program. They have to participate in that program. That's what makes it, but give them the opportunity to do that. Let's then give them that opportunity, then review the programs with our Commerce Secretary and Senator from Johnson, Senator Lynn, has a review process that we're debating in Commerce now. If we bring that to the floor, please support that. We get that Commerce Secretary to give us a review of these programs, then we can improve the programs. We can add more people to it. We can add more counties to it. But right now, we've been debating over a $1 million or $1.3 million program when we need to move on.
Senator from Johnson, Senator Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, every time you bring a job to a rural community, that's a taxpayer, someone that's going to support the local economy, someone that's going to support the local schools, helps lower taxes, makes the community stronger, help kickstarts the local economy. They buy gas, they buy food, they eat at the restaurants, shop in the shops. It helps our state. We've done very little in the last 40, 50 years for rural Kansas. You know, it was a little over 20 years ago, I believe, living in the Johnson County area like I have, when, you know, Wyandotte County was struggling. The mayor of Wyandotte County worked with the legislature to proposal together that drove some of the strongest economic growth that this state's ever seen in western Wyandotte County, that it's still outpacing most of the surrounding area in Kansas City and has caused one of the strongest economic growths in the surrounding counties, even to the west. Us working together to spur economic development can be a great thing across this state. We need to do it in the rural areas like we've done in Johnson County, like we've done in Wyandotte County, like we've done in Sedgwick County or Shawnee County. We need to do that in rural Kansas too. This is scratching the dirt. We need a plan to create, to build new housing, figure out a way to make it affordable. We've got a great labor supply. They're leaving, they're going to Texas, and they're going to Florida and other places where there's jobs, where there's housing. We need to quit exporting our kids to other states. We need to figure out ways how to grow our economy, how to keep them on the family farm, or create them jobs to keep them in the local communities where they want to raise their family. I really think if you look back at places like Scott City, we've heard over the last couple years in commerce how they've grown about 300 people. A lot of it is because they've got great broadband. People can work remote. They want to come back where they grew up. They want their kids to grow up in that environment. It's an up-and-coming, growing community. It's modernized. And I think that's a piece of what this bill does. This starts that growth in rural Kansas again. We've done it in other places. Johnson, Wyandotte, Shawnee, Sedgwick. Let's work on it in rural Kansas too. And I think this just scratches the dirt of getting started, rolling up our sleeves, We need to work hard. I hope the next Commerce Secretary rolls up his sleeves, whoever it is, and creates a lot of economic development in this state. Outpaces the rest of the country, because that's what we need to catch up. We need someone that's got the energy level, the ability to roll up his sleeves and bring them businesses to Kansas. I don't care if he's a Republican or a Democrat. I want Kansas to win. So I think we need to give him the tools, and this is one of them. So I urge the body to support this bill. Thank you.
Senator from Cali, you wish to respond? Senator from Wyandotte, Senator Haley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to point out that the economic spur that was benefited Wyandotte County for the STAR bonds that was invoked has been a return on investment that is tangible, not only with the Speedway, but indeed the legislature did undertake to pick winners and losers, which of course this is doing now in terms of counties. And so the investment that was made has yielded a tangible, financial, solidly fiscal benefit to all Kansans from that investment that was made. And I still hope that we can find out what investment that we're making in our opportunity zone counties, where those benefits are coming back in a tangible, discernible way, a bottom line, if you will, Mr. Chair. And as for, again, picking winners and losers with these counties, I don't necessarily agree with the assertion that this is good for all of Kansas. I think it's good for some of Kansas. If your county happens to be the county that is not in the opportunity zone, but is adjacent to one that is, and those incentives are being offered to the next door county, if you will, the adjacent county, and someone actually does, because of a vigorous ad campaign, recruits that population back to the county with the opportunity zone, then the next door county could be a loser, even though they're a Kansas county as well. And picking winners and losers, whether they're counties, and what incentives that we share is something that, well, this senator, for one, is beginning to chill a little bit on after vigorously having supported that concept for many cycles.
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley, you wish to respond?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When one county wins, the other county doesn't have to lose. And I go by Wyandotte County. And I go by the counties surrounding that, of the economic impact that the STAR bonds have given those areas. We have 5 counties that last year shared $19,275,000 in a tax incentive. But that money was returned back to the state of Kansas, as you say, times over. So that's a good thing. This program is a good thing too. But we can't do a STAR bonds in a county of 2,500 people. This is something that they can do. This program goes not to those corporations, it goes to the individual. That's what we're missing here. It goes to that job that goes out there for a $20,000 job. You take it, they get the opportunity to put a little money back in their pocket. So thank you very much. That's all I have.
Senator from Finney, Senator Dahl.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to piggyback a little bit on the senator from Cali, Senator Alley. I just had to say that. It's fun. But if you take it, first I guess I want to ask the senator, good senator, a question. If you draw a line straight up from like Pratt County, up and down from Nebraska to Oklahoma, how many counties are not in the RAWs?
At the present time, if I just went from on the, and I'm trying to find Pratt County here, but
that's where it's.
I think what we got about 5 counties. About 5 counties are not in the RAWs.
Senator from Finney, Senator Dodd.
I would think that if you saw that, there's a friendly competition between Dodge City, Garden City, and Liberal. And if we pass this, Dodge City, Ford County would be in a ROS, and Finney County, Garden City wouldn't. And at this time, I don't want Garden City. I want to with the good senator from Wyandotte, I encourage Dodge City to get the ROS, even without Finney County being on, because we've found when in our area, in our neck of the woods, that when one of the cities win, we all win. In Garden City, we've been blessed with economic development, and I think Dodge City, from talking to them, have benefited from that, as has Liberal. There's jealousy going on between all three of them because we're all kind of rivals. But at the end of the day, we want to see Ford County succeed. So, you know, I just wanted to bring that up because when I heard the good senator from Wyandotte, I appreciate totally what he said, but I can't agree with it because I think we might be the only county. Finney County might be one of the very few counties that are not in the ROS. That's Garden City. And if there's a couple more, I apologize, but I highly encourage people to vote for this so Ford County can be in it.
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley, you wish to respond? Senator from Cherokee, Senator Hildebrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to stand up and just voice my support for this bill. Obviously, being a sponsor of it, I do support it, but my reasoning is for Crawford County, and selfishly, that's the one I represent. And the reason why I brought this bill forward and along with the other one was because currently Crawford County is the only county not in southeast Kansas that is able to take part of the ROS program. And they have a lot of opportunities available that are coming up. They're starting to get things moving a little bit. But as they start adding businesses and stuff, they're having a hard time competing with Missouri. People are moving 5 miles across the line. Crawford County shares their border with Missouri on the east and is only, I think, 24 miles from their southern border to Oklahoma. Representatives from Crawford County, county commissioners, cities all throughout Crawford County, economic development directors there, chambers of commerce have all requested it, saying we need another tool in our toolbox. We think if we could get this passed, it will really benefit our area. If Crawford County benefits, Kansas benefits. If you take southeast Kansas and you say, I am from Baxter Springs, Kansas, and you go, if you're in Colorado, nobody knows where Baxter Springs, Kansas is. If I say I'm in the Joplin area, Joplin, Missouri, everybody's heard of Joplin, Missouri. We need to change that. We need to change it to where we say we're from southeast Kansas. They know exactly where we're from, not some town in Missouri that's 15 miles away because everybody's moving there instead of moving to Kansas. When they move to Missouri and working in Kansas, we get a little bit of benefit, but we get a better benefit if they buy a house, if they build a house, they're paying property taxes. When we have more houses to tax, the tax is shared, everything goes down. The high tide raises all ships. The low tide lowers all ships. We are in a low tide. We need to get to the high tide, and that's why I support this bill. Thank you.
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley, wish to respond? Are there any further questions for the senator from Cali, Senator Alley? Seeing none, Senator, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the things you learn early on is what gets measured gets done. We've heard a lot of comments today in the chamber about let's measure the program, let's make sure we're doing things right. I 100% agree. I think we need to make sure, we need to give these counties that are going to be expanded here the opportunity to get into the program and then measure them, see what their success, and then change and make sure their success. So I do appreciate all the comments today. We do want to make sure that people understand that this program is alive. We want to make sure that the Department of Commerce tells people about this program and makes sure they use the program. So with that, I move that when the committee rises and report, it reports Senate Bill 135 favorable for passage.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries. The chair recognizes the majority leader from Johnson County, Senator Denny.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carried.
The clerk will read the committee report.
On motion of Senator Denning, the Senate resolved itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of bills on the calendar under the heading of General Orders, with Senator Billinger in the chair. Recommended Senate Bill 125 be passed and Senate Bill 135 be amended by the adoption of the committee amendments, and the bill be passed as amended.
The chair recognizes the senator from Sherman, Senator Billinger, to adopt the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I move we adopt the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Reports of standing committees. The clerk will read.
Madam President, the Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources recommends House Bill 2085 be and the bill be passed as amended. Senator Kirshen, chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources recommends House Bill 2215 be passed. Senator Kirshen, chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Financial Institutions and Insurance recommends House Bill 2101 be passed. Senator Olson, chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Financial Institutions and Insurance recommends House Bill 2177 and the bill be passed as amended. Senator Olson, chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Judiciary recommends 2178 and the bill be passed as amended. Senator Wilborn, chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Public Health and Welfare recommends House Bill 2103 be passed. Senator Solentrop, chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Public Health and Welfare recommends House Bill 2201 be passed, and because the committee is of the opinion that the bill is of a non-controversial nature, be placed on the consent calendar. Senator Solentrop, chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Ways and Means recommends Senate Bill 75 be amended by substituting a new bill to be designated as substitute for Senate Bill 75, an act making and concerning appropriations for fiscal years ending June 30th, 2019, June 30th, 2020, and June 30th, 2021, and June 30th, 2022 for state agencies, and the substitute bill be passed. Senator McGinn, chairperson.
Are there announcements? Chair recognizes Senator from Sedgwick, Senator Solentrop.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I just wanted to mention that Senate Health and Public Welfare will be also working Senate Bill 194 along with others tomorrow in committee. Thank you.
Senator from Sedgwick, Senator Kirshen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Senate Agriculture and Natural Resources will not meet tomorrow. We finished up everything today, but we will be meeting on Thursday and Friday, but no meeting on Wednesday.
Senator from Wyandotte, Senator Petty.
Thank you. Just a reminder to the body that tomorrow morning at 7:30 is Early Learning Caucus, investing in early childhood for a stronger Kansas. I encourage you to join us. Will be a very informative program about nurture and a program called ABC.
Senator from Johnson, Senator Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Just a reminder to the Senate Commerce Committee, we will have a confirmation hearing on the Commerce Secretary designee, 830, 845 South.
Are there additional announcements? Senator from Sedgwick, Senator Falscadeau.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I would remind the body that tomorrow is Literacy Day at the Capitol, and so if you feel free to stop by some of the events that will take place tomorrow all day here in the Capitol. Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
Are there additional announcements? Seeing none, the chair recognizes the Majority Leader from Johnson County, Senator Denning.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. An announcement before we adjourn. This is how I see tomorrow unfolding. We'll be back on general orders tomorrow, and we'll be debating the following bills: Senate Bill 178, House Bill 2126, and House Bill 2209. So those three bills will be on general orders. Senate Republicans will caucus, will gavel in like we have been, then we'll recess, and then Senate Republicans will caucus on those three bills. Plus, we will also caucus on the budget bill, which is Senate Bill 75. And Senate Bill 75 will be on general orders on Thursday. We're going to get a head start on caucusing on the bill tomorrow, but Senate Bill 75 is on general orders for Thursday. We also have 5 consent bills that are on the calendar on page 2 and 3. We'll be caucusing on those 5 bills, and we will clear those Wednesday as well. So, Mr. Vice President, I'm not seeing any questions, so I would make a motion I move the Senate adjourn until 2:30 p.m. on Wednesday, March 20th, 2019.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. The Senate is adjourned.